Buying books you have absolutely no intention of reading ever isn't an act of intellectualism. It's just fast fashion for people who want to make you believe that they are smart. We have all seen those shelves, haven't we? Perfect, aesthetic, color-coordinated spines. They are eye-pleasing, and I will not disagree with that. But just because something is pretty doesn't mean it's purposeful. Today we are going to look at this modern trend of performative reading and the collector culture that's turning literature into just the act of hollow home decor. Social media has this bizarre habit, like a life goal of its, to ruin simple acts by turning them into some sort of visual, some sort of aesthetic thing. Like if you want to make drinking water look like something beautiful, something aesthetic, done. You want to make waking up at 5 a.m. look like a movie scene, done. But this aesthetic virus seems to have now penetrated into the one habit that was supposed to save us from social media in the first place: reading. On the surface, holding books looks like refined. It looks like something what a reader should be doing. But strategically, if you look closer, there is zero difference between holding a mountain of Stanley cups and holding, stacks of books you're going to treat like furniture rather than literature. It's just overconsumption core wearing the intellectual jacket. Reading used to be a sanctuary. Now, for a growing part of the digital community, it's a competition of perceived intelligence. Having more books just simply implies that you are more intelligent, even if the pages of that book, even if the pages on that shelf are just the narrative equivalent of empty calories. Now, let's be honest. Physical books have a upper hand over every other form of reading. The weight of the book, the tactile friction, the roughness of the pages, the feel when you touch and move them, the smell of the ink, all of it. It's a sensory experience. It demands more from you than just looking at the words, and it's something that no other form of reading can replicate. And therefore, owning a personal library, focus on the word personal library, it's like a great way, a beautiful way to honor your act of reading, your habit of reading. But remember that books do not appear out of thin air. There are trees that lead to the paper, and that paper leads to the books. So buying books should not be a impulse. It should not be a dopamine seeking impulse, a mindless act. When you are buying a book just because the cover fits your aesthetic of the shelf or fits the vibe, or it's just the most popular thing out there right now, and then let it gather dust for 3 years, you are not a reader, not a lover of books. You're just a holder of wasted potential. I want to share a few tips and tricks to help you overcome this habit of mindlessly buying books. Here are a few things that you can do before you ever decide to purchase a book. 1. Trial run. Do a trial run before you buy. Either it's listening to an audio sample of that book or reading the digital preview of that book. Anything before you actually buy the first book. If the sample interests you, intrigues you, makes you think that the plot is exactly the kind that you like reading, then go ahead and buy a physical purchase book. And of course, it's not going to drastically decrease your rate of DNF, but it will have a huge impact. Second, structure audit. Look for critical reviews of that book that focus on the writing architecture of that story. Maybe its pacings, its plot, its structure, all of it before you decide if the book is worth your time or not. It's very similar to how you would read the review of literally any product before you buy that product. Third, the library test. If you have access to library, which is of course a great thing, then borrow a book before you actually buy the physical copy of it. Read that book at least halfway through the borrowed copy. And then if you are like, yes, it's worth my time, it's worth being there on my personal library, I'm going to buy it. Then the other point is stick to your core genre. If you have a core genre, like if you like mystery and, mystery and detective stories like I do, then buy books within that genre only instead of buying books like in the contemporary romance, knowing very well that it's not your taste, it's not to your liking, and there's highly likely chance that you're not going to read it. Lastly, and this one might be a point that you might disagree with, but never ever buy a series altogether. Like, unless you have full confidence that you're going to read the entire series worth of the books, do not buy it, because if you are not going to end up liking the series, that's already like 3, 4, 5 books going to go to waste. Unless of course you're going to donate them. If you're going to put them on the shelf, don't buy a series right away without even checking out the first book. Okay, that's the tips that you can try. Getting back to the point of how social media has skewed our brain, thinking that collecting books is like a quirky habit of reading. Like, if you look at the content of a lot of these booktubers, booktalkers, or bookstagrammers, you will notice a pattern. Like, they are glorifying impulse buying. And now, to be fair to them, it's kind of their business expense. It's kind of their job. Like, they need the latest books. They need to buy books to make content. It's a tactical job requirement. But the problem is how they frame it. They make it look like that impulse buying, that entering a store to buy one book and then going to buy like 10 plus books is like a quirky personality of a true reader. And it's all fun and games in the comment section. Like, people are like, yes, like I relate to this, all of it, until it stops being a joke and starts being the glorification of consumer waste. A book haul is no different from a fast fashion haul, but it's just given the green light because books are associated with brain power. A genuine lover of books cannot find peace when a unread story is on their shelf gathering dust. If a book isn't for such a person, they would rather donate it. They don't hold books like trophies. And I'm not speaking from some sort of place of perfection. I'm not saying I do this all the time, like I do not have books I have never read. No, it's in fact from a place of experience that this has happened. I've had books that I have bought out of impulse back when I was none the wiser, or books that I bought for my university but ended up not reading half of them because none of them interested me. And if you note like the books that I've actually completed, like some of the Sherlock Holmes story, or 1 or 2 Agatha Christie stories, or like the Lord of the Rings series, you'll notice the books that I really enjoy are the ones that make me do mental work, like that make me constantly think about what, why, how, who, all of that. And books that don't do that I usually avoid. And the books that I have not read it often fall into this category of being books that don't mentally engage me. And that is why I said that sticking to your core genre is extremely important. So because as somebody who has books that I have never read, it hurts me to see them gathering dust on the shelf and keep, just being there. And that is why it made me kind of wonder if these people who buy a lot of these books do ever actually read them and then just let them lie there. Now, the second problem that I have with this performative reading is the purchase of special editions, of the act of buying multiple copies of a book you already own because they are slightly different from the original book. If you look at most of these special editions, you'll realize that most of them just have sprayed edges or like a different cover or a character arc. If you look closely, then this is no different from buying like the holiday edition of a makeup palette. The formula, the content, the interaction you're going to have with it is all of it going to be the same, only the packaging is different. Unless like a special edition offers a bonus chapter or a author's commentary, or is the special edition of a book that you like really like it's one of the best things that you have ever read, then only buying it makes sense. Otherwise, it serves zero function for a reader. But of course, it serves a massive purpose for a performer who's going to keep it on their shelf. And this, I feel like, is a nail in the coffin, a definitive proof that we have turned reading into a purely aesthetic act. A personal library is a beautiful thing. I want to make that clear. The failure, however, lies in the fact that library made out of stories that you are never intending to read, that's a waste. Turning those pages into a background of your digital life, that's a waste. Because tell me, how would you ever feel peace if a person enters your library and realizes that there is almost every book in the world out there and none of them defines you? There's a reason it's a personal library. It's supposed to reflect your personality, your personal taste, not be a copy and paste of a store's book area or a public library. It should feel like you, like a person entering your personal library should look at the titles and immediately realize what kind of person you are. And the other thing, of course, is that books are not supposed to be showpieces. Like if you buy a vase that is supposed to be a showpiece and put it on the shelf to show, that's fine. It was made for it. But books are not. If you really want the look of the library, like you're not interested in reading, you just want like the space that looks like a library, then buy those mock books, the ones that, those hollow pieces that look like books but aren't. That would be a much more respectful choice in regards to literature. Because think about it. Books, real books, they go through a lot of process. As I said, the trees, the paper, the writer, the author who has gone through years of drafting that story, the editor who has spent hours trying to make the sentences better. All of it is effort. It won't be great if all of that effort all ends up in a book that ends up lying on your shelf as a display. If you call yourself a reader, then respect for the book is your first responsibility. It doesn't matter if your shelf lacks the vibrant blue, pink, yellow colors. If you own those dull-looking penguin black classic covers, that's fine. If that's what engages you, then that's what is meant to be on your personal library shelf. It's infinitely better to own an unaesthetic thing that you love than an aesthetic object that you're never going to touch. They say don't judge a book by its cover. Well, I'm telling you, don't buy a book based on its cover, because a book is more than that. The words inside it are what matter the most. I hope I have officially de-BookTokified you in this video from my perspective today. All I want to say is reclaim your shelf. Reclaim the habit of reading, because what you read is a reflection of your personality. Until the next video, keep theorizing.